And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another IT Career in Australia live stream. And tonight's topic is, of course, about women, because it is International Women's Day today. It's maybe not as big in Australia, but I'm originally from Russia. It's actually massive in Russia. It's always been a big public holiday. But look, we still, everyone's still talking about it. It's International Women's Day today. And tonight, our topic is about why aren't there more women in IT industry? So thank you so much, everyone, for finding some time to join us this evening. Please don't forget to introduce yourselves in the comments. Let us know what you do and join our conversation with your questions and comments. Or at least say hi in the comments. It's nice because it's nice that someone's here and actually listening. And we're just actually talking with someone as well. So it would be great if you say hi. So I'm Diana Martins. I'm currently working in IT consultancy. And I'm passionate about learning more about present and future of tech industry. So I'm always eager to share my latest findings and insights with you on this YouTube channel. So tonight, as I mentioned, the topic is why aren't there more women in IT industry? And Diana, Suesi, and Varuna is going to share their insights and their experience and opinions on the topic. So please tag and share this video with your colleagues and friends who need to hear this. Before I pass it over to ladies to introduce themselves, I just want to remind you that we're streaming as usual live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you miss the streams, no worries. You can watch the replay by subscribing to my YouTube channel, IT Career in Australia. I go live there every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Melbourne time, with various experts from my network. And we're talking about things like IT career, job search, and in and outs of tech industry in Australia. And if you want to make sure you never miss the next show, join my meetup group to receive the invites for upcoming events. So please ask as many questions as you like on any platform, but please stay on the topic. Yeah. So let's just not talk about anything. Let's talk about this particular topic today. And remember, the most active participants will receive a special surprise at the end of the stream. So we have few people saying hi. Helen is here. I don't know, Mayos. If you have a nickname on YouTube, you have to share your name. Otherwise, we don't know your names. And last time, guys, LinkedIn comments actually didn't go through. So maybe I have to look actually on LinkedIn on my phone just to make sure if someone commenting on LinkedIn, I have the comments coming through on my phone. Because LinkedIn sometimes funny. If you have a nickname on YouTube, you have to. Here we go. LinkedIn sometimes funny and don't showing comments live. Anyway, that's enough of me. I'll just pass it on to everyone to introduce themselves. So we'll just do by one because we're quite a few people on the stream. So if everyone can just say basically hi, tell a little bit about themselves, and tell us why why you're talking about this topic, why you're passionate about this topic today. We might just start with Varuna, please.
Hi everyone, good evening. I'm Varuna Sood and I'm based in Melbourne. So a little bit about myself. I'm a geek at heart, geek at work. That's where technology is, that's where you find me. My background is software network engineering, but currently I'm working with GRV and I'm working on the change side, change practitioner, just making sure we have got that right skill there and that upliftment is there. So that's what I do. Why I'm interested. So happy International Women's Day to all the men and the women on this chat and to everyone who's watching live. So there were a few instances earlier in my career. And just for an example, where I was really curious about C-level execs, women who are there. And I just happened to have some conversations with them. And it's just more around how do you actually fit? How do you do everything? And mind you, at that time, single, everything going in your 20s is like, I can do this. But then there was little conversations around, oh, you have to be a little bit like man, you have to be, this and that. And that made me a little bit more, I'm like, okay, maybe I don't want to do that then. So why I'm here today, I want to get the messages out. There are few messages I want to get out to the community, and also to help and empower if anyone I can touch. Just in the circle today. That's why I'm here. And thanks, Yana, for organizing this. This is great.
Thank you, Varuna. We'll go with Susie. Susie, please introduce yourself. Oh, sorry, we need to unmute you. Sorry.
Hello, I'm Suesi Tran. I'm currently based in Melbourne, but I'm from Vietnam. I'm also a geek at heart. I started to be a geek since 12 years old, and I did not have a very good starting point to be a geek. So my journey started officially when I turned 20. Until right now, I'm working as senior Flutter developer, and I'm also Google developer expert in Dart and Flutter. It's not an easy journey, and especially moving from country to country for a woman. Um, it seems to be hard before. Right now, I don't feel that hard anymore, but I'm sure some of you will be related to it.
Yep, for sure. Thank you, Susie. And Diana, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, well, hello everyone, and happy International Women's Day. I think my story is a hybrid of Varuna and Susie's as well. So I'm actually based in Sydney. I've been here about 4 years now, but I've been in the tech industry forever. Like the other ladies, I've been passionate about it. Whether it's being nerdy or geeky about it, it's maybe somewhere in between there. But I think for myself, my journey again, I've moved countries and I've worked in various roles, and I see similar patterns emerging. And so I think in every aspect of my career, I've always been curious, and I've always been trying to drive towards having conversations about the women that are either in the industry or that are struggling or that are wanting to come in, or how we can start to drive towards this. And so I think when we think about this year's International Women's Day theme, it aligns to what we're going to be talking about here today. And I'm hoping to share a little bit about my story and my journey as we go along in the next few minutes.
Perfect. Thank you, Diana. We have a few more people saying hi. Tony is here. Hi there, Varuna rocks. Here we go. We have some fans. So Maya saying my name is Yos. Perfect. So now it makes sense. Thank you. And so here goes some Susie's friends as well. Here we go. So, everyone's here. Guys, also, doesn't look like the LinkedIn comments is working. So if you want to ask the question, please jump on the YouTube and comment on the YouTube with your question, because I'm not sure if the LinkedIn comments will be going through today on the StreamYard. I think the LinkedIn is not synchronizing. But anyway, doesn't matter. So we're all here, and you can always ask more questions offline as well. So basically, let's just dive straight into it. The hour is going really quickly, so I'm sure there's a lot of things we can talk about, but the first question is basically the question of our, today's topic. Why aren't there more women in the IT industry? And there is a lot of theories about it, and a lot of articles about it. We all heard about the lack of the role models, and the social bias and things like this. And there's also some theories that women just naturally not that interested in the IT industry and not really drawn to engineering as well. So there is different views on that. So, and I would like to hear your view on this. What do you think? Like, for you, that's the main reason why there is not that many actually women in IT industry? And I don't know, Diana, maybe you want to go first.
Sure. Yeah, like I said, this is one of those topics that there is no right or wrong answer. But I think for me, I usually like to start with the history of computing, because I'm in software engineering, and so I'm kind of curious to see how far back it dated, and to see that the women were actually pioneers in a lot of ways is something that I hang on to every day when you're having tough days. But looking at the trends over the years, there's been a lot of influx. And so that means that there's been changes globally, just pretty much around every industry. But I think when you start to talk about why people aren't in a specific career, a career is very personal. And so the decisions that we make are decisions that are most likely good for us. But I think there's a lot of influences around either the industry itself or just our networks in society that drive the numbers to be a little bit lower. So I actually I remember this just yesterday, it kind of blew me away, because when I was graduating high school, and you're kind of going through trying to figure out what you want to be when you grow up, I always knew that I wanted to do something in tech, because I loved math and I loved sciences. But I remember my guidance counselor, or the career counselor, telling me, maybe not that, you should probably do something in home economics. I can't solve, at all. And I knew my passion, so I settled for a different role. So I started with finance and accounting, because that was closer to sciences than anything else. And so I think when we talk about actually having women in a field, or having certain skills within a field, it has to start from the grassroots. We have to actually have a system that allows for women to be able to enter into tech. So that's one aspect of it, right? But then also, once the women are in tech, right, so which is the area that I navigate quite often, you start to see the numbers fluctuate, and there's sudden drops when I talk to a lot of women, because I do a bit of mentorship, you start to see these patterns emerging, because I think some of it, some ladies will drop off because they're having families, which is, like I said, it is a personal choice. But a lot of the narrative comes to, the struggles that women have in the industry. One is just being underrepresented. And the fight for equality, we've been talking about it for a while, because I think you start to find some of these challenges coming in, and you can see the statistics looking at just the struggle of actually rising above the ranks for women. And so we start to see women just kind of shying away from roles that they're either qualified for, but either are not getting the opportunities to do so. And then I've seen, and a lot of that then drives a lot of us to just pivot, right? Sometimes I just want to go be a farmer or something, because, like, this sometimes it can get quite challenging. And I think that's why we have to keep the conversation going, and start to address all of these different factors that we can actually manage within the industry itself.
So basically, you went and studied something different, and then you transitioned to the IT field. Yeah.
Yeah, when I actually had a choice to make, when it was my choice to make.
Yeah. So you feel like your original decision been influenced by the social settings.
Yep, 100%. I was not given an option to even apply for it, right? When you go in and you send you fill in your forms and you say, this is what I want, and you're told, no, this is not for you, right? Because these folks are supposed to be guiding you towards your future. But then again, whatever biases what influenced that decision, I will never know. But I think so. I got into the industry a little bit later than I would have wanted to. But I eventually made it, and I'm happy I did.
And you're here. Perfect. What about you, Susie?
Actually, I quite agree with Diana about the part that an intentional bias that the counselor gave us. Actually, my story is a little bit different. I during my high school I did not study so well, but then when I signed up for university exam, I signed up for software immediately, and at that time I failed my university exam. And one of the comfort word that other people gave me during that time is that don't worry too much, that industry is for men, not for women. So it's okay for women to fail. Then I was like, is there a gender for industry? Right. But at that time I was only 18, so I accepted it, and I moved on to graphic design. I learned graphic design during that time. But after 1 year, I just feel it's not so right. So I found my way back to back to software again. And during that time, actually, not only just a few people, okay, most of the people around me asked me, are you sure? They did not try to stop me, but they asked me, are you sure? Because they said that most of the men are doing well and they will do well. Are you sure you can success in this career? Then I was like, if I have to spend 8 hours a day working, why can't I do something I enjoy, whether I will succeed or not? They, this is the mindset, and actually all this happened in Vietnam, so I'm not sure if in Australia it's happened the same thing, but maybe not.
Yeah. And so basically for you, you definitely notice some social pressure as well.
Yeah.
Doing your choices. Yeah. Varuna, what about you? What's your view on the main reasons there?
It's my story, my view. Yeah. So that's really interesting that we're from different backgrounds. And originally I'm from India. So my family is a little bit different, so very progressive. Yes, definitely agree with Diana and Susie. There's that social pressure, but really thankful that my folks are progressive and they said you can pick whatever you want. But having said that, given that you had an option to choose being engineer or a doctor, and that's very common in our Indian culture that you have to be really good. You have to. It's a very competitive environment, so I think that influence was there, but again, I think it was my keenness towards computers that was picked up by my father, that he saw that, and that became a natural choice. But there's something that I want to mention is about why they are. I think there's something it's already called. Yes, we have got that social pressure. We have got that dogmas in the society, but also there's an already always way of listening, and this is a very common thing which is used in coaching. Is this is when you talk about women and when you talk about a man, and I'm talking about gender equality, men are forced to be, hey, you have to be competitive, you have to provide for the family. And women, on the other hand, they're like, oh, you have to look after the house. So, assumedly, even if you're a career woman, it's like the chores or the housemaking thing becomes kind of a second nature to you. So, it's not that you're choosing it, sometimes it just defaults to you. This is a term which was introduced by Tony, is on the call. It's called stale pale male, which is part of the society. This is how the subconscious works. This is ingrained in you, right? And as Diana said, there's nothing right or wrong. It's how it works. And I think we are here. The good thing is that we have to keep talking about it. How we can, I think, as a group, have that inner circle of influence, and how we can actually even influence one person on this call or by talking to other people. I think that's the progress we're looking for. So that's my 2 cents. And I think we've spoken about female models, and this is going back to my introduction and talk when I talk about female models. Unfortunately, most of the female models we have in the C-exec positions, they are aping men. They just want to be the way they dress up, the way they're thinking, oh, I have to act like him so that I'm worthy. I think, and this is just to lighten up. Just think about if you ask a man, "Oh, you've done well. What do you think? Who do you credit it to?" A man will say, "Of course, me. Who else?" You know, that self confidence, that belief, it's ingrained in them. And for women, we are like very compassionate. We're very empathetic. Like, oh, my dad helped me, my mom did, my partner, and everyone. That thing is there always. So I think it's a multifactorial thing for us, which is not bad. It's just sometimes we do not put our hand up and say, all right, now I can do it, because there's so many other things going in our mind. And I'm a mother of a 4-year-old. I do that thinking is always there. Can I put my hand up for this project? What will happen when my little one comes home? So those things are already there, and I think men are not wired to think that way. And these are the reasons that sometimes we we don't take up those opportunities ourselves as well, because there's so many there's assumed roles are always there. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I'm gonna play the devil advocate here. We all talk about the role models, and we wanna female role models, but like, what do you think? What's the difference? Like, why we can't look up to the men as well? Like, why we need the woman in the C-suite to be our mentor and look up? Like, we're talking about equality, and we're talking, that why we need the female role model in this case. Why it can't be men? Like, what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I personally, I don't even know who's my role model. I probably don't even have one. But I mean, like, for me, it probably wouldn't be matter if it's a man or female, as long as I like the person. Yeah. I don't know. Like, what? Like, again, playing devil advocate there. But what do you think?
Maybe
Diana, do you want to go?
Yeah, definitely. I'll start. Well, like I said, role models can be anyone. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to have a gender. It's just somebody that you connect with that can help guide you along your path. And so I think for myself, again, I've had amazing mentors and amazing buddies and peers along the way. I wouldn't be where I've been if it wasn't for them, right? So we all need that support system. But I think if I go back and think about what, when I said that my counselor said no, right? Why? Because this is not a thing that has been done before. It's not a thing that is familiar. And so it removes that option for us. I think that's one way to look at it. But then for me, like I seek out mentors, right? Whether they're from other industries, other countries, it doesn't really matter. It just depends on where I need help. But what I found is when I talk to a woman, their perspectives, right? So we talk about diversity and we talk about equality, but then there's also like diversity of thought. So they've walked through the path. We all know it's not easy. It's quite different, and we have to actually try to not fit in, but try to actually navigate a lot of these areas, because we're bringing in something that is different, something that is unique in some ways, right? And so somebody that has actually traveled down that path is able to guide me to understand either what challenges are coming or how I can navigate some of them, where, how she was able to do it. It's not necessarily that their advice is more important than others. It's just having that collective perspective across all of these different domains. And I think intersectionality plays a huge role into that. And so being able to actually tap into all of these different areas has allowed me to be able to navigate some really, really tough situations, I have to say. But yeah, and I find that to actually have somebody to be able to go to, or somebody that you admire, is something that keeps the drive and the motivation, at least the spirit within myself and those that actually, will look up to the same person.
Yeah. Varuna, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I 100% agree with Diana. But there's one factor I just want to mention here is everyone has a different journey towards the path they want to take. And I have had amazing mentors, both male and female. But the perspective about the female, because again, this can be a second topic. Also, I'm an immigrant here. My journey is totally different to whether it's gender. That journey was different, and I'm pretty sure most of us can relate to that on this call. I think it's about the challenges, how you've actually gone through those challenges, and you've been able to have that solution mindset that okay, we can do that. So it's just making sure that you have that right mentoring and coaching along the way, but also what behaviors you can instill in yourself, which can help you kind of, you know, progress this whole thing. So it's gender neutral, I would say.
Yep.
Some of my amazing mentors have been men, and I'm working with amazing men currently where I am. So I think it's either way, it's fine.
Yeah. What about you, Susie? Sorry. Yeah.
Actually, for me, I don't differentiate between women and men as my mentor, because everybody has their pro and cons, and everybody has their advantage or disadvantage. So whatever I can learn, whatever can help me, whether by learning from their mistake or learning how they succeed, is actually helping me. So I don't see why it's important to differentiate between men or women. We are working in we are not like try to have a fight between two genders, right? We we just try to improve ourselves, and whatever is good for us, whatever can help us to improve, whether it's come from man or woman, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, we kind of coming back to this message as well, because sometimes I feel like when one of the ways could be overpushed, it can create that pushback from men as well. So I guess we win it together. So we want men to collaborate as well. So it's also like not only like women push for that, but it's also get them. I feel like it's also getting men on the side as well. And I do hope that that's what's happening actually. So it's not like, women versus men or anything like that. It's about how we work on this together. But okay, so the burning question, there's so many ways to government or society or like companies been trying to solve this equality problem and trying to get women into industry. There is a lot of different programs running. So the one I think that really had a lot of discussion about, it's a quotas. Yes, so some companies have like quotas and saying we have to have like 50% women in this project, or at least 30% women in this project, and trying to solve the problem this way. So what do you think about this approach? Is it like, having quotas for the company helps to reduce the inequality, or it's just kind of another push that just create even more like tension instead of actually helping us towards bringing women in IT? What do you think? Who didn't go first? Maybe Susie can go first.
Yeah, I can share with you a story that when I work in Singapore, the company tried to promote more women in the industry. So in my project, they try to hire 2 more women. And in order to meet that, when we interview and when we interview the candidate and the result come back that the women are not as capable as the men, and I get that decision back to them, and the company answered that if you can train them, let's just take them. Then I'm like, it's not good for the project. What I mean is that we can train them, we can give different roles to them, but at that point we should balance between the quota for women and men, and also the quality of the people that we get in. It's not just gender that does not make the most important candidate, the most important factor over here. So the lesson learned at that time is that quota is not the answer. Because if you take someone that is lower than the standard and give them the opportunity, you so-called opportunity, actually it will be more stressful for them if they cannot catch up. And what should I say? The effect of that will last longer than just the hiring process.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, maybe can also create some tension. But yeah, but okay, so Varuna, what your thoughts like? What do you think about the quotas?
That's interesting. I think quota definitely is not the answer from my point of view. But I have seen in my experience in different countries. I've traveled to US. I've spent some time in India. Now I'm here. Sometimes companies have to do it because it's a compliance requirement. So there are 2 ways of looking at it. Yes, you have hired because it's a company policy, but it's just seats on the bumps. Are you wasting that opportunity? Now, some of the people who have been hired are really keen for that opportunity. They want to learn. So the flip side is they want to learn, but they're just seats on the bump. They're not giving enough responsibilities to them. So I think it again drops down to the skill set. Yes, if you have got the skill set, irrespective of the gender, they should be hired. But some companies actually have to fulfill their compliance requirements, and they do that. That's again to me is a waste of, I would say a talent. Someone who's talented out there might miss out on the opportunity because you have that quota subdivision. And actually, do you mean it? Are you going to train them? Or they just want to be sitting there so that there's a tick in the box for you that you've met a compliance requirement? So it's not the answer. Definitely, you should go by the skill set, the right fit for the company, and and whether the candidate is keen enough to learn, and they have it in them, and they're keen to go with the company's policies, etc. So yeah,
Yeah. Diana, what do
that's
you
me.
think?
Well, I'll start with this. I'll start by saying that I believe that we should hire for the right person for the right role. At the end of the day, there's no question about that, because guess what? It won't be fair to the person that's coming in, and it won't be fair to the team or the company in general, right? So gender shouldn't be a factor in that. However, I see the quota system. I think the inception of it was noble. We've kind of diluted and kind of got lost along the way, because I think there's, in certain areas, maybe having a mandate will force folks to look harder. Because if you look at some of the hiring practices, right, I love referring people because there's always a referring bonus. But if I don't have anybody that, that maybe a female that is capable, then we continue to perpetuate this whole thing of not having enough women in there. So if there is a quota, it might actually help alleviate that. We will look a little bit harder to find that person, right? So that's one aspect of it. But I say, if we're bringing, to Varuna's point, even if we go and do that, right, there has to be some level of accountability to that. So quota in itself, pointless. But taking that and actually building up programs and being accountable for that, building an inclusive space, building programs that will actually help our, whatever group is being considered in that quota to actually succeed, I think is actually going to build that out into something that is worthwhile. And so I think, we kind of have to not just look at it at face value, but actually really think about how we can take that and make that work for us.
Yeah. Very few people actually saying hi. Let's just acknowledge that people here. Megna saying hi to Varuna, Rachel here, saying hi to Susie. Here we go. So, and a comment from the audience as well. I see quotas as a mechanism to encourage certain hiring practices, but good hiring practices should not be based on quotas alone. And Helen saying, yeah, totally agree with Diana. So, okay, so so we do want to encourage women to come to, actually it's surprisingly because I do recruitment as a part of my job too, and sometimes I do get along angry men who says they fill this position just because we hired her just because she's a woman, because they needed to fill the quotas. So and you kind of Varuna, you have something to add there?
I actually, this is I'm sharing my experience on this live platform. So after my mat leave, there were some interviews I was going through, there were some roles, and talking to this gentleman, I'm like, I'm interested, but can you tell me more? And then he started asking about my personal, it's like, what are your commitments at home, etc. So that was initiated by him. I said, well, how does that matter? It's about the skill set, it's about the capability. And my little one was 2 at the time, right? And he's like, oh, so how are you going to work? And that question to me, just at that instance, have my cerebral capabilities declined just because I'm a mother? Or what does that even mean, that question? So when we talk about biasism, and I'm not saying that was a malicious intent, I think the way this person was wired, or this man was wired, is like, oh, just because you have a child now, you cannot work. I just wanted to add there that there's so many other factors that impact us on day-to-day life, and sometimes you don't even know how to respond to them, because for me that was news. I come from a background where women are working, whether they have kids or not. Very progressive family, and most of them working. I'm like, what does that even mean? For me, it was alien. So, just adding that to this conversation, if
and
mothers
I think
can relate.
It kind of brings us to another point and another question that I have. We keep the pay gap. The topic that still a concern, and we know the statistics still showing that there is a pay gap between men and women. But there are also some statistics that show that actually the biggest pay gap is between childless women and women with kids. And it's bigger than actually the gap, the women and men gap in general. So the gap actually starting then women having a kids and, they're taking time off, then they're coming back, they can't get back to the same pay. And that's basically just, like exponentially increasing the gap. So what do you think? Do you agree that this is like the main reason, or do you think that it's, still other reasons involved onto the pay gap? Maybe Diana want to go? I'm on mute you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is certainly one, contributor to it. I don't have children, so I can't speak to that point, at least from that perspective. But I think looking at my peers and my friends and other women in the industry, it has actually factored in, because even though I'll give you a random example. If I took a sabbatical, a year away, not mat leave or anything, and I try to get back into the workplace, those gaps in the resume definitely have an impact, right? In how you can re-engage back into the workforce. So I can see how that can play in. But again, I don't like history, but for whatever reason, the history of women and tech, I know a little bit about. But when you look at just back, from back in the days, women have always been paid less, right? So we're perpetuating that. And I think things are changing now to a point where people don't talk about salaries, right? And I think there's certain areas where it's a law or there's rules where you can't really talk about it. So most of us maybe will not know what our counterparts are getting paid, for starters, right? But because, I'm used to getting paid $10, if I go and apply for another job, and they ask me, how much do you get paid? And I say 10 or maybe 11 because I want a little bit of a bump, but they're actually starting at 25. Guess what? Most of at least the practice has been, they'll pay what you ask for. So I think we need to change the way that we're doing that and start actually compensating for value and compensating for experience, as opposed to historic. And I think, like over the years, we've started doing rebalancing of salaries and so on and so forth, but there's still a long way to go in that respect. And then I think the final point is, it's been historic. We talk about women not raising their hands for roles that they're probably very capable and very qualified for. And I think that could contribute to the overall income earning capacity, right? Because if you stay in the same role forever, your progression, at least even advancement of salary, kind of stalls a little bit with that as well. So again, it's the little things that add up. I think it's one that can be embedded as part of the policies within the company, in just paying equal, period, without that. But then I think a lot of it is, we as women, we need to ask for what we know we're worth. And I think that's, there's a lot of programs and a lot of coaching around asking and negotiating for salaries is a huge part of that. So there's a lot of work to be done in this area. Like I said, we can talk about each of these topics for like a whole day. So I'm just going to leave my 2 cents there for now.
Susie, what about you? We'll keep Varuna to the end because she's the one with the she's the one with the kid. But Susie, what is your perspective on that?
Actually, what I think, I don't have kid either, so I'm not sure how it's like to have a pay gap between childless and with woman with a child. And I don't talk about salary either, but I can tell you a story about my ex-colleague. Both the husband and wife, at that time, they work in the same company, and their team, the wife was working with me in my same team, and the husband was working in the other team. And at that time, they had a kid, 6 months old. And I tell you, the stress are on both of them, because when the kids scream at night, both of them, no one can sleep. And when the kid is sick, even just one of them send the kid to doctor, the other one is also worried and cannot focus on the work. But that happened only 2 years, and after that 2 years, both of them also thrive in their work, in their career. And it means that even though there's a gap, as long as the company really take care of the employee and really give them the the opportunity to have a work life balance, and really, how should I phrase it, really help them to have a balance during that hard time. There's nothing to stop it, to stop the woman or a man when having child. Because having kid, even though woman is the one who give birth, but woman alone cannot give birth, right? So the responsibility is shared between the two. So if that is the reason for the pay gap between women with kid and women without kid, don't you think it is quite unfair for women like me who cannot have kid, right? So I
Yeah.
just find it's meaningless to differentiate between women with kid and women with no kid.
But I kind of feel like that's yeah, and we'll get Varuna to talk about it, because she had that experience. But I don't know, like, so I don't want a kids, yes, so I've never wanted kids, never been interested in kids. But I kind of feel like if I decide to have a kid, I would want to take a time off, and I would want to, like, I don't know, enjoy my pregnancy and enjoy time. Then I'm a mother, so I feel like it still will be more. And I'm talking hypocritically, yes, but so I kind of feel like I don't think it will be like equal in a way that whatever, my partner will take the same amount of care for the baby, especially when it's a little baby, and I don't know, need the breastfeeding and things like that. So I don't know, like, so I kind of doubt that for me it feels doubting that equality can be achieved unless we start laying eggs and use incubators. I don't know. Like, that's a solution to the problem, I feel like. But anyway, Varuna, to you, like, what do you think?
Right.
You're the one who has a
Me,
kid.
the focus is on me. All right. The few things I just want to, just to lead on from Yana, you and Susie, you. Really good
Yeah.
examples. Now, we are really fortunate. We're in good roles, good income, good support model behind us. But there are a lot of women out there who do not have that. So let's start with that. Single mothers. They don't have a lot of support models. Some of their parents or supporting people are not here. They're overseas. They're immigrants, right? So just answering one of Jason's is that part-time role. So maybe part-time is not an option for that home, because the mother is playing a mother and a father. So she's bringing home the bread, but also she has to look after the baby. So this is one of my experiences in a government organization, where I clearly explained my situation, that I'm a primary caretaker. It was COVID times and the support is not there. So there might be times when my little one is sick and I have to take time off, and the deliverables won't be impacted. I will be working weekends and da da da. And it's sorry guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. And then it's a female role model at the top, and I have kids, don't worry about that, da, 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 da. And I'm like, okay. And 2 or 3 months, there were a few instances where I had to take time off, and this was a situation where she was admitted in the hospital. I'm like, can we postpone this scheduled PowerPoint presentation because I'm at the hospital? And this comes from a woman. Oh, how does that impact? Can you not work from the hospital? I'm like, how can I work from the hospital while I'm the primary caretaker? Obviously, then I didn't wanted to stay at that role. I'm like, wow, this is how you're supporting women. So you're not walking the walk, talking the talk. It's just that, yes, yeah, it's there in fine print. We're supportive, we're flexible. And this is during COVID. You don't even have to go to work, right? So there are so many factors, yes. And then the negotiation starts. Oh, you might have to, do you want to consider part time? Do you want to take a pay drop because your child gets sick or this happens? Well, most of the Australians, even if you have, let's talk about people, it's a double household income. Most of it goes to kinder. It's expensive. The daycare is expensive here. Even if both the parents are working, they're still struggling to support. So it's like, really, can we actually do that? Because, I was in the same like you, I want to take time off. I want to do that. But when the reality hits, it's like, how much time can you take off? You know? So it's coming from an experience, but then I think I want to do a positive reflection as well. Where I'm at currently, a lot of parents in the group, fully supported. Fine, you have to pick up, you have to drop off, you have to look after, don't bother. As far as you're working from the moon, who cares? As far as you're delivering. So I think there are two sides of the spectrum when we look at, and it also comes from, again, going back to what is individual's belief system, their the way they have been brought up, the society, the environment they are in, the social circle, whether they have kids or they do not have kids. I've seen most of the people who do not have kids, they cannot comprehend what comes with the package. So I think that's where I stop. It's a very lengthy topic. So we can move on to the next one.
We do have a few questions and comments. Vicky actually saying, I got a similar interview experience as Varuna when you were talking about that someone asked you how you're going to work with the 2-year-old. Yeah. And Jason saying maybe they were looking for overtime. And that's why they asked you that question, how you're going to work, with... So in terms of the statistic, actually, I think Jason asking for statistics about women with kids and no kids. Does only consider full-time women with kids, or just all of them? A lot of parents choose to work part-time and be able to manage. I think it was the statistic is actually based on average hourly rate. I think, but I'm not 100% sure. But I think the statistic that I read was based on hour rate, so it doesn't matter if it's part-time or full-time. But basically, okay, so it feels like I feel like from our discussion here, so we kind of going back to this individual contribution, and how everyone personally look at the problems and how perceive the situation as well. Because sometimes I feel like even with the example with the kids, so if we're talking about giving women more flexibility because she has a child and she needs to do pick up and drop off and so on. So does it mean we need to give the men the same flexibility? Because if they're equally contributing, so they should have the same flexibility to, drop off, pick up, have time to, cook lunch and and things like this. So do you think that's kind of the where it's all heading, the decision, the solution to the problem, just taking these equal responsibilities outside home and inside home? Is that something that we can solve, or is it different solutions? Susie, you go first. Sorry, you muted. Yeah, here you go.
Actually, sharing responsibility is something that I really wish that every family have, because in my family we did not have that, and I've seen that many women around me, maybe because I'm Vietnamese, but many women around me have to have to stick with the responsibility to do the cooking for the full household, and have to take care of the kid and do laundry for the whole kids, simply because it's housework, and Vietnamese men do not do housework. I'm sorry, Vietnamese men. Not many Vietnamese men do not do housework, but I've seen a lot of them do not do housework. So it's like that any woman that who work full time will still have to work extra when they reach home. But the men do not have to work when they reach home, and that is unfair, right? So the same thing come to take care of kid, because even though I don't have kid, but I hang around with other kid, and I know how troublesome they can be, and sometimes how not so comfortable they can be. And most of the time, the one who solve the kid problem is also a woman. And I wonder why. Because having a kid is the responsibility by both man and woman. And why only that the woman is the one who have to do all that? So if there is a way to balance the responsibility between the father and the mother, that will be much better. And I think for the father to take care, to have extra time off, for not to say extra time off, but to have equal time off to take care of kid during the child days, then it means that the work, the responsibility on the woman is less, and that would be a good thing, right?
Yeah. But does it work in reality? So can it work in reality? Varuna, what do you think?
Oh, look, it's just so controversial. But Susie, the really, really good points. First of all, the reason I'm doing this talk because I've got two men behind me, Shania's father and my brother looking after my little one. So I've got that support, right? so, but yes, I've seen some of my friends struggling with that. I think the number of every family is different, and it's not a cookie cutter approach that you can say this is going to work, this is not going to work. But yes, having that right support system from the organization, the company you're working from, people who can understand. What I have what I've seen is, most of the men are actually not given the flexibility who have kids. So if we can actually start appreciating that as well, that men get the same flexibility as women, I think it's going to be a good starting point. When a child is sick, mother gets the call from kinder, not the dad. I think that's, again, it's going back to that ingrained messaging we have in our mind. And look, I don't think it's going to take 10 years or 20 years or 30 years. It's going to take longer than this to resolve all of this. But again, as I said, it's so many different people. We're all from different countries, different backgrounds, different experiences. But this is a common thing that's happening in most of the cultures. And Susie, I've got a Vietnamese friend, few of them. I know what you're talking about. It's sometimes hilarious.
I feel like we need to run this live stream by culture as well. So
Yes.
it's like what's happening in one culture. Diana, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, well, I was looking at this again because I don't have children, and so it's hard for me to speak on what it's like. But if you look at it from like a work situation, right? Because a lot of it we're talking about it a lot in that context. I believe when we think about it in terms of equality, if there's policies, like now we're seeing a lot of companies offering parental leave for both parents, right? And so the shift is starting to happen, and we're seeing more of, both partners actually having that ability to take that time off. So that's great. And so, yes, even while we're doing that, right? So but the way that we treat the women versus the men when they take the time is different. Or even like the example of going to hospital. If a parent, if well, again, just from my observation and in my experience, when you see that the mother is taking time off to go attend to the children, there's usually a stigma around that. Not even a stigma, there's just something that the way that they're treated is different from if the father did it. An example would be missing a meeting, right? To Varuna's point, like, can you present at the hospital? I don't think if that was a man that would actually have been asked that, right? Well, I'm not saying that would never happen, but the likelihood of that is actually lower in that respect. So I think it goes just beyond giving the time, but actually being able to, we're saying, yes, you have this freedom, you have that flexibility, but then it has to be across both, and there can be like double standards. Yeah.
I'm cautious about the time. We only have like 5 minutes. 5 minutes left our stream. We have someone to decide to go into the men's side here. Men better, saying Stan. That's why there is no women. So men smarter, better, and that's why there is more men. So here we go, girls. like, but I can give it to the men, like I can give sometimes to the men that men like usually better on talking about themselves. Like, to be honest, I'm pretty good, I think, talking about myself. I'll be humble about it. I always like, yeah, no, me, I'm smarter, but in general women don't do it. Yeah, so what's your reply to Stan? Come on, just a quick one, 30-second reply to Stan.
You go, Stan.
Go,
Somebody had to say it. Yeah, again, a lot of it is, because again, it's a clear example of just men being able to just shout it from the rooftops, right?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of very, very, very capable women, but we just hold back a little bit, more
Yeah.
than the men do.
Yeah.
We don't put ourselves out in that way, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying everybody is equal in that sense, but even those that are, we kind of tend to shy away a little bit in
Yeah.
some instances, you'll find. But good point, Stan.
Actually,
You made us. You made us all laugh.
right now, men are better job, and especially men are better in IT, and that is why women are trying to learn from men to be better. So watch us out in the future.
Teach us, please teach us.
Yeah, we are learning from the West, and
I guess like that's another big question. We probably don't have time to talk about it, but I'm actually also curious. I haven't really done much research on it, but we're all talking about that. Women tend to not talk high about themselves, and not like don't go and shout that women like I'm smarter than everyone else.
yeah.
I'm actually curious if it's a natural and social, yeah, because like sometimes I do feel that it is natural in a way, because simply because of the hormones and testosterone and estrogen, like we can't just disregard that completely. So I'm kind of still feel like that there is a nature play bit of the game there, and it's not just all social that women a bit more I don't know, like shy or don't want to talk up. But I don't know, like, so I feel like there is two components. I still feel like there is a natural component in it that we can't really just fully disregard. I don't know what. Just I'm cautious about the time, but like, if you can give me a quick opinion, what do you think? Varuna, you wanna?
No, you're right. That's there. That natural ability is there, and we have to give it to them. And something we can learn from them. That if you know something, why not? But again, cultural experiences. In my culture, it's like, oh, don't be too loud. And the third factor I would say is whether you're an introvert and extrovert. Extrovert females I've seen, they behave, it's a similar manner. So there's too many things. It's the nature, your personality type, your cultural belief system, and also how you comfortable doing that. That's me quickly.
Yep. Susie, you want to mention?
Actually, I really find that women are more like keep things to themselves, like stay humble and acknowledge all the help that they receive. And whereas men, they bring themselves first. But if we take that as as the main reason to say that why woman is not as good as men, I don't think so, because if you look at the past 20 years, most of the people in the high level positions are men, and that is why we don't have much women in you don't know, like the idol to be a woman. And that is why most people do not see that some women can be as good as men and some men can be not so good. So anyway, if you still do not have that habit to be confident in yourself, I think Google has the I Am Remarkable program. So have a look at that. I really tried that, although it's not so successful on me, but one day I will try to be so remarkable, and I'll try to stand out in the crowd and say that I am remarkable.
Perfect. I do it in the mirror every day. Diana, for you.
No, I was just going to say, and that is why we have International Women's Day, because we have
Yes.
one day. So let's celebrate all of our achievements, and let's celebrate all of the things that we bring to the table.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah, perfect.
Can I say thank you to Tony? His comment is really good. I think he's
Yeah,
just made...
Tony has a comment. The problem with shouting out is a man who shouts out is strong and confident, while a woman is seen as pushy.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think, like, I believe it is changing as well. I feel like it is definitely, it's getting better as well. So yeah, you seem pushy, but whatever,
Yeah.
Oh well,
We'll get
that's
there.
all right,
Or not. It's all talk, we can't talk about it, right?
Let's all get comfortable with that. Yeah, let's get comfortable with that. I'm pushy. Yeah.
And Triv is saying, I think it's more social cultural, more than biological nurture over nature on this front. Okay. Here you go. So, ladies, it's 6:30. We need to jump out from this call. So, just before I jump out, I'll just quickly announce the speaker for next week, and you can choose two winners who are having a virtual coffee chat, and then can ask more questions over, whatever the questions we couldn't cover during our live stream. So you pick, Varuna, Diana, pick the winners for the virtual coffee chat, and next week it will be March the 15th, Wednesday, March the 15th of. I repeated 3 times, but that's okay. I'm just rushing. So we're going to talk about, will ChatGPT replace tech jobs? So basically burning topic as well. Everyone talking about ChatGPT everywhere. So of course, I wanted to bring this topic to the live stream. So we're going to talk with Evgeny and Jason. So, and they're going to, talk about their views on this problem and if it's a problem or not. So make sure to tune in to tune in next week. Tony just saying, I don't agree with that, to be clear, that a woman who shut out is pushy. Thank you, Tony, for your additional support here. So I don't mind if someone think I'm a bitch. It's okay, like that's fine,
Yeah.
So anyway, Varuna, Diana, did you pick the winners?
I think so.
Yes, Varuna, who are you gonna go to virtual coffee chat with?
Tripede, yes.
Here we go. We have one winner. I'll make sure to connect with me on LinkedIn so that I can connect you both for the coffee chat. And Diana, did you pick someone as well?
Well, this is tough. There's so many. But I think maybe I'd like to Tony.
Tony, Erin.
Yeah.
Here we go. Perfect. I'll connect you guys offline so you can connect to a coffee, for the virtual coffee chat. And here we go. Yay! 3P saying yay. Make sure to put your name. I keep forgetting the nicknames on YouTube. It's just too hard to remember everyone's nicknames. And okay. So thank you so much, ladies. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, please like this video, share it with everyone, and so on, as usual, because obviously that encouraged me to keep going. So yeah, all your likes and shares will be great. And to finish this live stream, I don't know, like I usually ask my speakers to share their favorite inspirational quote. So if someone have the inspirational quote ready, go. Susie has?
Yeah, my favorite quote is ever try, ever fail, don't matter. Try again, fail better.
Perfect. Diana, you have one too?
Well, I just improved. Well, I say you can't win if you don't play.
Perfect. Varuna, something to add? Or are you still thinking? That's okay.
For me, it's like no. Just for me, it's like opportunities don't happen; you create them. That's what I live by. Yeah.
I think we all agree. You know, the go for it. Basically, to summarize our live stream today, I'm summarizing in these two words: go for it. So thank you so much, ladies. Thank you so much, everyone who listened to us. So go for it, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you.
Thank you all.